Hey guys, what is going on? So, it's been quite a while since I've posted a video on here. Major reasons was mentioned in one of my last previous videos was I wanted to kind of work a little bit more on myself and kind of just in the grey areas that I knew that I kind of needed to dedicate more time to. So, supplemented the time I dedicated towards making some content videos and used it in order to just kind of work more on my education and just kind of better myself in that way. So yeah, it's been quite an eventful journey, to be honest, and I think most of all I've been able to kind of make major progression within my trading and the areas that I kind of knew that I was lacking, but I just didn't have the right, let's say, the right sort of mindset at the time. So a lot of what I've been doing is not just technical but also mindset related. Most of it is mindset related, but there was some technical tweaks in terms of it. So it's not really one of the traditional ones where I'm going to be going through all of the pairs and kind of breaking through it. I think kind of now further in the journey that I've realized that it's no longer really most of all about this sort of technical outlook. It's more so about just understanding your mental approach and how other people psychologically think as well in the market, and that plays a massive factor. So I haven't really changed much, just added on top of my technicals, but I've also kind of leveled up and made it a lot more cleaner. I did go through a phase where I kind of went through naked charts, and then I kind of came back to my traditional purple and green. I just kind of preferred it this way. I think for some people, I know obviously the colors don't really matter so much, but it does kind of play its toll as well psychologically for a lot of people. And I think for me at the time in my journey, it was just I've been looking at particular colors for years. I wanted to change it up and make it something a little bit more exciting, I guess. Trading is can be very boring at times, and I think when you're looking at candles all day, sometimes if you change something to kind of just reflect on you as a person, it does make a big difference. So kind of going through what sort of changes I've made. I would say that one of the most major changes that I've gone through recently is that obviously keeping my charts a little bit more cleaner, just keeping what's more relevant as well. So I think a lot of it is just everything has really been kept the same, but I've just refined it just a little bit more, changing it from wild cards to additional pairs, daily watch, soft watch, top 6. Obviously nothing major there, but I've used this sort of add sections bit, which basically just adds it in, which I was basically following what my mentor did, and then essentially just got it all in here, which is quite easy and clean and keeping it very organized. I do like the sort of layout like this. It kind of just pops more, and if you know me, I do like my emojis, so I was able to add those in there as well, which is pretty cool. Overall, I think I am very, very happy with the way things are now in terms of how I'm progressing, because I've got some really good set routines and how I follow them is pretty good. Not every day am I able to follow it perfectly to the point of completing everything, but the majority of days I am able to. But that's one thing that as well I would say is very important to not overwhelm yourself with, because routines are extremely important, but at the same time you have to understand that sometimes you won't be able to complete your routine just because you're only human, and being in routine is really good because it allows you to know what works and what doesn't work and what you can improve on and so forth, and keep you on track with everything that you're doing. But at the same time, you need to understand that small breaks are also very good for you as well, just not too long. So you should give yourself more credit for what you're doing, especially if you have been consistent with a routine. It's very important that obviously, yes, you do stay consistent with it long term, it's sustainable, but also more importantly that you kind of reward yourself for these things. And I think a lot of people lack that rewarding side of things. And when you do reward yourself for staying consistent for, let's say, 3 months, 4 months at one thing, and you have done it, let's say 5 out of 7 days a week, and you've been able to consistently keep that up, I think that's a very important thing to kind of just give yourself a pat on the back and just let yourself know you're proud of yourself, and buy yourself something tangible, or it could be materialistic. It doesn't have to be something. It could be maybe a new journal. It could be something that you can actually just look at and be like, well, I deserve that because I worked very hard for it. And I think those mini rewards on your journey to becoming a lot more successful are more they mean a lot more than buying yourself a fancy car. It's weird to say, like, there was a time in my journey where I would have probably, thought having a Ferrari would have made me super excited, and don't get me wrong, it would still make me at some level happy. But looking at a journal and that I've really worked hard to, and I can look back on it, and it has, given me value, and also gives me ongoing value. I think that's a lot more important than actually just buying a materialistic car. I mean, these are the sort of things that I think you find out later on in your journey, that what's really important and what isn't so important to you. And obviously it's kind of staying in that sort of mindset where you kind of realize, what do you really want out of trading, and it's why do you want that from trading really as well. So it kind of just derives more into the why, and I think when you get really granular with your why, it's when it really matters. And I think a really good task that I did throughout one of the periods was something that I came up with, was every day for, call it 2 weeks or a week, I did a bunch of different, but write I want, so things that you actually want. So things like it's funny because I started with let's go to the beginning of this, so let's go back a bit. Yeah, so the first time I did it, it was a bit odd. I wrote 5 things that I wanted every day. The first one was I wanted a robust, systematic approach to my trading. So I wanted to be a bit more efficient with the data that I was using, and obviously back it up with confidence. Then I wanted to be more intentional with my decisions, and then I wanted to be more focused and very clear on where I want to be in and out of the market. And then I wanted to stop feeling so I wanted to feel more grounded where I am in my journey and so forth. So I guess a lot of this stuff was very, very workable, and I did work on these as I went back into it. And then the other one was I wanted to experience success, a different level of success. So this was the first one where I kind of did it, and then this is the one where I did it the next day, and is that I wanted to be a funded trader with over 500k in total capital. I wanted to do some stuff for some family, providing freedom, and then I wanted freedom for myself to travel anywhere as well, and a few other bits in there. And then I wanted a new car, and so forth. So these bits were quite interesting, because as the weeks went on, I kind of just got to the point, and if I just go here, so as the weeks went on and on, I kind of came to the conclusion at the end of it is I wanted to be free. It was the first one. I wanted to share my freedom with more people. I want to give freedom to those who are struggling. I want to help others obtain their freedom. I want to become the gateway to freedom. I wanted to be willing to become the type of person that can be the gateway. I want to be the right person to make change and help others grow and so forth. And it kind of just came into this point where it was like, I wanted to be so good that then I can help other people be really good. And that was a very, very interesting sort of gathering there. So then after doing that task for such a long period of time, I kind of came to the conclusion that these are the core values of what I really wanted and why I'm trading. So it was mostly revolving around freedom. It's what I craved the most, and that's what I got. So you might get something different if you did get something after you did it for 2 weeks. I'd love to know what you guys also got, and if you drop it in a comment or drop me a private message, it'd be wicked to actually get that and understand, because I think everyone resonates with something different. Some people already have freedom and they're just trying to get this extra skill on board to add on to the skills that they may already have, or more importantly, they might be looking for the same thing. They just want the freedom for themselves, the people around them, and so forth. So that is something which I found very, very cool Then I did another one where I was I just kind of turned it over to what I'm grateful for and what I'm thankful for. So every day, I'll write 5 things that I'm grateful and thankful for before I start my day. And it kind of just puts me in a much better mindset, a lot more calmer, I noticed. Yeah, I mean, if you kind of feel sometimes that you start your day with a bit of chaos, or I would highly suggest that I know it's a little bit difficult for a lot of people, but wake up a little bit earlier. Set a time. If you usually wake up at 7, you've got to go to work at, let's say, 9. You've got to be in the office by 9. You leave the house at, let's say, 7:30. You've given yourself 30 minutes. Give yourself an extra hour. Just add an hour onto whatever you're already doing now, if you haven't done this already, and give yourself that little bit extra time. But in that time, make sure you're doing something. You're not just waking up early for the sake of waking up. You're actually giving yourself a purpose. So, number 1, you're going to prepare yourself delicious breakfast planned ahead of time. You're gonna prepare your clothes the day before, so you don't have to waste your time in the morning early getting that sorted. All of that stuff. Usually the morning routine starts the night before, and that's something that was told to me quite a lot. And there were certain things I was doing the night before, previously, before I had a proper routine in place, that actually set me up for a good day. But we don't really acknowledge the things that we do in the morning, in the evening. So when you have a good day, how many people reflect on the morning? They don't. They just reflect on the good things that happen throughout the day. So it's these sort of things that kind of just jumped out to me. And I think something which is really important is obviously having a gratitude journal. This is slowly just gradually turned into a gratitude journal at this point now. But by doing that task of just understanding what I really wanted, it really outlined my why, and kind of just gave me a stronger reason to kind of just be better in all those areas that I wanted. Going back to the first things I wanted, I actually went through this, and then I kind of just realized what I wanted from the beginning, and then I started to slowly find ways of doing it. So a robust, systematic approach to my trading, which is backed by a sufficient amount of data to give me more confidence. Now, not to say that I didn't have enough confidence, but I was lacking, let's say, confidence in certain areas. So what I did was I went through some data collection, which I can share with you as well at a later stage, and kind of just collected more data upon entries that I was taking and trades that I was interested in. And solely because of that, I was able to basically improve massively. And yeah, that was pretty awesome. And yeah, being more intentional with my decisions. I think because of the data collection, it actually just gave me that intentional sort of side of things, and reminding myself every morning as an affirmation is, I want to make I make intentional trading decisions, and I think that's basically just kind of reflected on one of the core values that I wanted to obtain. And now it's kind of like every decision I'm making, I'm always backing that with, is this intentional? Is this deliberate? And so forth. So that was really important. And I think, by doing this task, you'll be able to go back and reflect on those things and understand what you can do to actually achieve those, short term, long term, and what you can actually do to actually get closer to those goals. So definitely do that task, because I think that definitely helps in so many different areas to get clarity on your why. But I think more importantly, going past that, talking about the trading now. So on the technical standpoint, there's not really much difference. I'll just quickly have a quick flick through on the daily, let's say 4 hour. 4 hours kind of in between. I did remove the 15 and the 5 actually. The 5 is on here just because I was looking at something, but more importantly, I don't have that anymore. There's no 15 will probably be here most of the time, just to have a little reference. I do take an odd 15-minute trade, but I found from going through my trading journal and just looking through the data, I was kind of not growing as much due to the 15 and the 5, and that was pushing me back. But had I only focused on the 1, 4, and D, I would have then been way ahead of my journey currently. So it was just kind of a way of seeing the data and then kind of realizing that the data was telling me, look, you're good, you're really good, you've got a lot of experience, but you need to take a step back from the 15 and the 5, and that time will come in the future. But for now, just focus on the 1, 4, and D. And by doing that, it's basically stopped me from taking a larger sum of trades, seeing abundant, getting caught in the lower time frames, and so many different things that, you know, it was hard for me to kind of go past, honestly. And the cool thing about it is you can remove the time frames. You know, you can star the ones you want to see. If I don't want the 4 anymore, I just remove the 4. If I want to see the 30-minute, I can put the 30-minute, and so forth. So that was something that I found to be very, very useful, because I was able to basically just get that data and then kind of get through it. And I went through a lot of data collection, and I added a lot of parts into the way I grade my trades, the way I review the trades, and so forth. And I think that's a very, very important factor. Once you have a good trading journal that you've compiled for, let's say, a quarter of a year, 4 months, then you can kind of come to the conclusion by actually adding in filters. May you use Excel, Notion, or whatever program, or you know, adding in filters to actually just narrow in the data you're looking for. So if you can grade every trade, which, yeah, okay, it might take you an hour for sure, because there might be a lot of trades. It might take you more if you take even more, but for the most of experience who know what they're waiting for and they have the discipline, you know, 30 minutes is more than enough to an hour to actually get that task completed. And then you're adding in the filters, so I would suggest listing out the filters first. And let me swatch over to that screen. Okay, brilliant. So I've swapped over to my Notion page here. Some people might use Notion, some people don't. I basically use this to journal all my trades. I did create this one, which was kind of more tailored towards me, because I had another one which was provided from Falcon, but it didn't really resonate to me as much. And I think I did use it for 6 months. And then collected a lot of data on it and so forth in 2021. However, like I said, after a period of time, I just wasn't using the trading journal, and I think once I created something, I became a little more tangible and I enjoyed them more. So there is a lot of trades in here. Obviously, as you can see, a lot of them are with the private fund over here. There is a lot of trades though, for sure. I guess one person could look at this and say, wow, that's a lot, but at the same time, I mean, you know, you have to find your trading personality. You learn from your wins and losses, and then we basically move forward from there. So yeah, essentially, it's all in here, everything I need. You know, sometimes there might be an odd trade that I may not be happy with, which happens, like an invalid trade. You know, even further on in the journey, we do make mistakes. You know, sometimes we open a position and close it and realize, oh, that's a bad habit. Let me correct that, take a small loss, learn from it, move on. And it does happen from time to time. You know, it's happened to me a few times, but as long as we correct it before it gets out of hand, it's more important. So I think that's a very important thing, that if you know that you make a decision that's not in your trading plan, and it's not something that you, for example, want to truly follow, then you have to literally put the nail on the head and just get rid of it. You know, get rid of those bad habits and just pull in the good habits and just focus on making good habits. So there's a lot of data in here, but I think let's just use one as an example, and we'll use the most recent one, which is over here, which is the UK 100 trade. And I'll just expand this so it takes over the screen. And yeah, so essentially what we have here is I have a selection of the pair that I'm trading, which is pretty cool. Then I have the percentage that I made, then I have the phase. So this is all to do with the strategy that I'm trading. You might just want to put in your own filters and so forth, but the most important thing is adding characteristics and so forth. And then here I have other bits so I do this for every trade, and there's a really good reason for it. Is going back to what I said before, is the filtering process. So once I've actually added in all this data, which, you know, for some people might be excessive, but you don't need to go back and do it. You can actually start doing it from today, and it's just logging in as much data as possible. And I think by doing that, what you can do then is you can go into the main screen, which I showed you before, and you can filter it. You can filter all your winning trades, all your losing trades, all the ones with a risk entry, all the ones which were low risk, high risk, short position, long position, so forth, the month, pretty much as much data as you want. And I think the most relevant things that are you can add so much into there. I mean, there's more I could do to this, but it would be a bit overkill for me. You know, I could write a description of price leading up to structure, you know, things like that, and then look at common similarities throughout a pair by filtering only UK 100 trades. You know, you can do a lot to your trading journal, but I mean, keeping it simple is usually the best, because for a lot of people it could become a little bit excessive. But I enjoyed this process because it allows me to kind of just use the filtering options to the best of abilities to refine and see where I need to work on, what I need to remove temporarily, and what I can eventually re-implement if I can find a better approach to it, and so forth. So this is where I collect data, and then I put the time frames in here, put some notes, and then yeah, so essentially, you know, this was a trade that I took, which was better on the 15 to see. Trade was taken over here, so we had a strong push down, push back up, and then push down. So this was basically, it would have been a re-entry. I would have taken the trade here and here, and I was anticipating this to kind of just drop off a little bit further. So I was anticipating something like this. So we kind of just move into sequence, and would have come out of the market somewhere around about there, to be honest, if we did have that playthrough. But there was always the possibility that we could have corrected back up, and I think right now we are coming all the way back up for this larger flag, but I'm not favorable for it anymore, because we have a larger flag into a larger flag, and this becomes a little bit more neutral for this to come back up. So I'm more than happy to stay out of this one, but it was looking pretty good. I think, you know, once you have that and you look at the similarities, I'll just show you a quick filtering option, and you can do this through Excel as well. I mean, this layout is exactly the same as what Excel does, so it is what it is. But then yeah, so filtering option over here, and then I can filter by, let's say, you know, all of the ones which are Euro USD. So I want to see all the Aussie CAD trades, for example. And here we go, I can see all the Aussie CAD trades, and then over here I can use the calculate button, and it will just add all the values for me. So there's 11 trades there. I want to see what the sum is, the overall add up. So minus 43% overall since September 22, or whenever I start trading on here, up until now. So there wasn't many trades here, but the filtering option, you can see how useful it can be, and you can basically just go through that. So that's pretty cool. And then over here I have a gallery view, so I can actually see in hindsight all of my trades, and then kind of just scroll through them and so forth. And then I have a timeline view, which once again is just showing me overall just how many trades during periods. So if I want to see it throughout August, then I can see from August to here, you know, activity wise, and then that I can just do something with that data later. It's just there, it looks cool, but I don't really use it. Compact view is basically the main view, and that's basically it. That's how I track my trades from my trading journal. But I think that's one thing that actually helped me kind of look at the areas that I could focus on and improve on. So I think, you know, if you are not using your trading journal properly, you need to really look at it. You know, you can see common similarities a lot, where you enter the trade, what sort of trends you like trading, what you resonate with the most. And you know, I look at a lot of bear trends. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do make money on the buy, but not as much as the sell. I naturally move closer to the selling trades, so, or the bearish trends. So that's something. I mean, obviously you can see that there is a lot of losses, yet a lot of wins, and so forth. And you know, it's just one of those things. I mean, over the course of however long I've had this, let's just quickly count all these values up. Oh, not count. See, date range. So this would be over a course of 1 year. Okay, so there's 1 year of data compiled in here, and that's 245%. So over a course of a year of trading, I was able to obtain around about 245%, which is quite a lot. But obviously not all of this is rectifiable in terms of the percentage. This obviously gets a little bit more complicated when trading different account sizes and so forth. So 1% is 1%, but overall, if you're trading, let's say, a 10k account and a 100k account, 1% is still 1% on here. It's just not showing you that the value. So but yeah, overall it's pretty good, and I kind of use that as a day-to-day, and it just kind of shows me stuff, and then it's connected to my daily forecast. So for example, if I go over here which would have been on the sheet as well. It would then take me to my daily forecast. So this is something that I do in the mornings, is I basically forecast the trade ahead of time, and then basically prepare myself for the day. So this is, as you can see, it was already anticipated. It shaped up roughly around about the same time, and then the trade was taken over here, and then I did actually make around about 2% on this one. It is still running for around about 4-ish%, but it was a 2% trade. I did choke it, I'll be honest with you. And then this one over here, which was the one you saw in the trading journal, the trade was taken. So this is basically it, and then that is done every single day, pretty much non-negotiable. As you can see, I basically just get through that, and then basically prepped and ready for the day ahead. And then obviously I have the weekly forecast, which is also mutually as important. I think when you are preparing yourself for the week, this is something important. So one of the main reasons why I wanted to just show all of this is just so that you can kind of get a good understanding of what work is put into place from my side in preparation. And if you feel like you're not doing enough, that's completely fine. You just basically kind of acknowledge that you could do more. So this is basically just forecasting for the week. So what I'm actually looking for in anticipation for the market. So I'm not just approaching the market, waking up on a Monday being like, okay, great, the market's open. No, I've done all the hard work and dedication in order for me to actually see and anticipate what could possibly be happening and how I can take advantage of it. Yeah, okay, I'm not making 10, 15, 20% on every trade like some people, but what are they risking, and are they compromising their mindset in the process? I'm basically looking for something that shapes up and meets my trading criteria, my plan, and then when I do find something like that, then I can take advantage of it. So these are the sort of things. So here's an example. You got Euro GBP. I grade my trade as going to be a higher probability, a lower risk, high risk, and then the determining factors, obviously, I can't really explain them all. It takes some time, but you know what trades are high probability, low probability, more risk, less risk, and so forth. Then we've got the 4-hour time frame. So as you can see, I'm only putting the 4, 1, and daily because those are the time frames that I'm primarily trading. Maybe on off occasions I will use the 15 for refinement on the 1 hour, but there's no reason to be using it for forecasting. And then we can see over here that I'm waiting for this sort of scenario over here. And then when I do have it, I basically just put notes of what I'm going to be looking for. But then, more than likely, I'll be waiting for the sequence and then looking to get involved further on in the move as well, and then so forth. So I just kind of plan and prepare every single detail that I need in preparation. So not only do I have this, but I'm mentally there where I need to be. And then I have that. And then the bit in terms of the data collection side of things that I was mentioning as well, I think, which is really important, and I'll just pull one up here. It's just a quick sheet. Now this was given to me by Alex Bromfield, which was also supported by Danielle Bromfield in the community, and basically they just kind of said, this is a really good task, and I won't go into details of how to use it, but if you do want to kind of know how to use it, then I would highly probably suggest signing up to Falcon and kind of just getting through that way. But if you do trade your own way, then this could be very useful. So we do a before and after shot, and then we basically look at how price leads up to it, then we look at how many patterns we could identify which met our plan, then we just kind of log them all into here and basically just have the data collected. And then over here, down here, we basically just add the data in, and then it has its own separate sheets. So we can basically just look through here, and for example here we had a double bottom, etc., what session it came into, and then we look at the trade, and this is the trade playing out after, and this is before, and then we look at the criteria and so forth, and then we just log the data and the patterns, and then we look at the similarities, take the similarity overviews, and overall, yeah, it's all there. And then we just collect that data, and then we look at the percentage gain. So over 83 days, I was able to make 24.13%, but that would have been at my optimal performance. Understanding that I would have been trading through various sessions. We had some Asian, New York, London sessions. I'm New York, London session trader. So most probably, very, very probably, I would have probably taken the majority of these trades. But that was had I been, focused and fully on top of my game there. So basically that's that. And yeah, so did 3 of those, and then I have some other pairs as well within there, and so forth. So I am still working my way through this. It's a part of my weekly routine where I kind of just do like maybe 2 or 3 a week, usually 3, and then basically just go through as many pairs as possible. So this is something that I'm going to try to stay very consistent with. Obviously I've been thrown off routine a little bit because I was flying back and forth from London, and I will be again next month, which is literally around the corner. So you know, it's one of those things where I think, you know, we just have to work with what we have, and not beat ourselves up about being out of routine. We'll slowly, gradually get back into it, because it's not easy to be at your full swing, but you know, those are very important factors. So so that's it really. And then obviously I think one of the most important things that we need to kind of realize now, and I'll just swap back over to the charts. Yeah, nice. So one of the most important things that we kind of just looking at now is the DXY in terms of charting, and we're basically priced in a very, very valuable area. So if we just look at this sort of price over here, we've come into this very valuable area. We've pushed down quite aggressively, we've correctively moved sidewards. Now it's just a matter of waiting for a new sequence of short coming into play. So essentially looking at it on the 4, I think the daily is even better, but looking at it on the 4, essentially we're going to be trading in this zone. So this is going to be 50% of the move, where it's possible that, you know, from here to here we kind of come back and we move to 50 and then we start selling. But I think more than likely, you know, we have more than enough now, so we just have to stay sharp. It could be a couple of days from now, but we'll get a clear message from the market. There is the possibility as well, there's always the possibility that we can just move higher, and we you know, we don't come into this area, we'll just keep going. It's fine, it happens. But I think more than likely, you know, in terms of a sequence, we would have to see that happen somewhere around about here to give us the volume to push through this. I'm looking at this now to think that, you know, this is something that if we had something like that, then I would understand that this is very neutral and we could just continue moving higher. If we had something like this, then yeah, okay, I understand that that could then move higher. But I think if we just continue within this trickling momentum that we're seeing here, trickling momentum or even impulsive, so we keep moving like this, yeah, it's more than likely we just sell. So this is not very sustainable. This is just a very corrective squeeze, accumulating a lot of volume for us to potentially get a very nice sell. So I will be waiting. Even if we push down here and then we start creating something, this is where I'll be looking to get involved, really and truly. I think that's even more higher probability for this play. But I mean, that would be stunning. That would be, I mean, I can't even describe how nice that would be. There might be a few traps in there, but we'd know how to take it for sure. Even on a reduced risk, you'd be looking at a pretty decent position. So of course I'd be looking for a lot of refinement on that, but there would be an abundance of opportunity throughout here. So I think personally, like, patience is very, very key over here. There's no reason at all to be hesitating when we have the momentum, but I think more than likely right now we just have to be more patient than ever, because we are trickling into a very valuable area. You know, bits like this are just not enough. This is just not enough right now. I think there's more than enough to say, I mean, this, if this dropped off here and then we had something, let's say like that, where we kind of had like left shoulder, right shoulder, head, you know, broken above, come back down, that would make sense. Then I would understand that and I would take that sort of risk. But given the circumstance that we are just in this corrective squeeze higher, this could just continue going for a couple of days before we sell. So we just have to give it some time, but also understand that we do have a lot of US related news coming out. So something like that could be a catalyst to give us the volume, the volatility that we need in order for the market to sell off. So we are accumulating a lot of volume at this point in time because we are correctively squeezing. Just have to be patient. You know, I've got the same going on with a few other pairs. So obviously, as you know, that I mentioned earlier into the video, so I've taken out a lot of the time frames, 515. I'm basically now just looking at the large picture. You know, it does mean that I have to be a lot more patient with my trades, and a lot of them don't shape up as much. You know, I might wait a week, week and a half for a trade. Sometimes, obviously, get a trade every week, but it is what it is. And I think building that level of patience, it will be beneficial during other particular type of market cycles. There's certain market cycles where the market's very slow, and I think that's very important to actually acknowledge as well, that there's going to be slow periods in the market, and when there is slow periods, you cannot be the type of person that's taking trades every day and then suddenly not taking trades, because then mentally you always want to be doing something in the markets. And if you don't build that backbone to understand that slow is fast, and really understand what I mean by slow is fast, then you're going to really struggle along the long run. So that's something that I just really wanted to share as well. I'll just kind of flick through these so you can kind of see the sort of setups that I'll be looking for. I think that's a little bit too long as well now. I think that's kind of extended. I think that has the room to kind of just pull back up and then potentially sell. Not really interested in that, but it is what it is. You can see over here that we will be waiting a little bit longer now. As this kind of moves, I don't think this is going to be coming all the way up. I think there's a strong possibility that even if we tap into this, it's enough, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, over here, be waiting to see how that formulates. Looks good. Got another one over here. Not really favorable for EN at this point because we did get that major sell-off, but we'll have to wait and see. And then EG is looking very nice. I think EG is probably my favorite at the moment as well. EG, we've got this pretty much, this liquidity sitting over there waiting for a push up, catch people out on the wrong side, push back in, create a flag, and we go. Then we've got a few other pairs there. We've got NU as well. I think with news coming in this week, you can see the amount. We've got 4 very volatile cycles. I think over today we might get the first point where we actually either get a push up, start the run, start to trickle slowly, maybe start creating something, and then the next one comes out tomorrow, same time, maybe not much change, and then 29th is just going to be like bang, strong push up, push back down, start selling, momentum's in the market, and then we get another sort of continuation of PM. I don't think nothing will happen there, but it's just volatility. That's also anticipating this to kind of get us push up and then get the catalyst push up on the 29th. Strong volatility comes in, spikes up, spikes back down, does this crazy shit, and then we're in the run. So that's what I'll be anticipating. Over here, it's just a bit messy for me right now. I mean, there is possibly a trade in here where we can be looking at something like that, but this is not my typical entry. I think, yeah, I wouldn't look for something so small, so close to the low as well. Can you manage it? Possibly. The real question now is this the structure that I'm going to be looking to get involved in, really? And I don't think so. I don't truly think that this is my sort of structure. I would have looked for something a little bit larger, something more so like this, where we would have just, anyway. So that's that. And then Aussie, New Zealand, I think it's just gone. It's gone now. There was potentially a trade in there, but not really for me. If this came back up, came in, maybe the angle wasn't really there. It's just correctively squeezed out. US 500. Yeah, I'm looking for a strong push up. We just descended, kind of squeezed into this now. We'll come in, tap into maybe the next value zone. We'll see what happens. And then the UK 100 trade, which I showed you, was looking pretty good. It's just now we could be looking for that touch, but I've written this trade off now. It's nothing I'm looking for, and I don't really have anything on daily watch today, so literally no trades. That's why it was something that I thought, okay, good, I've got a bit of time today. Let me see if I can squeeze in a video to actually just share and kind of just come back at things, because I think there's a lot of value that a lot of people take, and I still get quite a lot of messages on Instagram and YouTube, and I think there's a lot of grey areas that I think I need to cover as well, because a lot of the messages revolve around funding, and with the whole my forex funds going down, I think it's definitely shocked a lot of people, especially with a lot of people who were in valuations and had a bit of funding. I think one of the major things you have to realize, and this is what I've been told as well, is that it's actually a very big positive to let you know to diversify your capital and not put all your eggs in one basket. It's something that's definitely something you should have realized by now as well, which we wouldn't really pay much attention to it, but funding companies have been around for quite a while now, and getting access to larger amounts of capital has been quite easy. But unlike a lot of brokers, they're not regulated, so they can actually do whatever they want. They can manipulate price, and there's a lot of brokers out there that used to manipulate price a lot before they got regulated. And being regulated, what that really means is that if you do anything that, for example, is dishonest or goes against basically manipulation, goes with manipulation of any sort of market conditions to your client, the client can report it to the financial regulations of the country that they're trading with. So for example, Australian, it'll be ASIC. For Belarus, it'll be NBRB, and a few other Baltic countries. And then for the UK, it'd be FCA. In America, it would be FSI or something. I can't remember America's one, but essentially that's how it works. And then you'd have to contact them, not by call. You can email them, you can message them. They always have a website, and basically they have all the information on the website, and you can just let them know about the situation. And what they'll do is they will open up a case, they'll investigate it with the company, and then essentially they'll get your money back if you're correct, and so forth. And then that's usually how it works. But obviously it's a lot of work to get through. I understand that, but it's your money, and some people, they invest 20k, which is the majority of their savings, and then market manipulation by the broker, not even by anyone else. It's just a very unfortunate way to go, and my forex funds did get caught out for doing that. So you're not really safe anywhere, if I'm honest with you, trading. You have to just understand that brokers, funding companies, they do have the ability to manipulate price, and many companies have been caught out for it prior. But one of the most important things is that there's a lot of private investment out there where you can obtain capital to invest, just like some of these prop firms that are popping up out of everywhere now, and it's very difficult to find them. But I think it's just doing that due diligence, very important, doing that due diligence, and really go into a company that works for you. I think there's a few good companies out there, which I don't want to start listing them out, because I did preach for MFF for a while, but I then realized MFF is now no longer fully legit. Like, they've been caught out for something, and yeah, sure, they did pay a lot of people out, a lot of people made money, but they've been caught out for slipping people out on purpose, making people get really bad quoting prices and so forth. So if I vouch for another company now, it doesn't really make sense for me to do that. So if I could say anything, I would say trade your personal capital if you can. If you don't have the personal capital and you are seeking funding, then just be very careful. If you're not ready for trading, you're not ready for funding, you're not consistent with your personal capital, don't go for funding until you're consistent. And you saw how much work that I'm putting in every single day for every trade, journaling for the morning forecast, the weekend, preparing myself and so forth. Like, if you don't have something similar on board and you're not at that level of consistency yet, then you need to go back and do a little bit more work. That's the truth. I think you don't have to do all of those things to be consistent, but if you want it to be sustainable, then you need to have some sort of process in place. And you don't have to put them all in place at the same time. You can gradually build to that process, which I highly suggest. But by having them in process and building a good process in place, that's what's going to enable you to be much better and treat it more like a business, essentially. When you work for a company, it's not like literally you do your job and that's it. There's so much that goes on in the background, from payroll and so forth, and that's all logged into data sheets, and everyone plays their role. But as a trader, you play almost every role. You could hire an accountant to do the accounting side of things, but essentially you do every role. So you need to then think about, how am I logging my data, how am I tracking it, how am I managing myself, how am I reviewing myself. In a job you'd have a one-to-one where they'd make sure that they're asking you the right questions. How's your day, how are you doing in your job, how do you feel, all of this stuff. Like, do you answer those sort of questionnaires to yourself and so forth? Because I think if you are treating it like a business, you need to actually be making sure that your mental state is on point, and if it's not, then you can acknowledge areas that you can work on. And I think that's the main purpose of having those sort of reflections, self-reflection sheets, because then you play both roles. You play yourself as the portfolio asset manager, which is a trader, and then you play yourself as the manager, the person who's managing the business, the person who's essentially making sure that the portfolio asset manager / trader is doing what they need to do and keeping them accountable. So self-accountability there as well. So I think there's a lot of areas that definitely need to be looked at and made sure, because if you are lost and you don't really know what you could be doing, then by all means I can point you in the right direction and tell you exactly where you need to be focusing your energy, because a lot of the time it's not your technicals, it's everything around the technicals. Like, I could literally show you one particular pattern and tell you, when these sort of criteria meet, you just do that. And if you did that consistently, you'd make a lot of money. But the truth is, I could show you everything and you still wouldn't make money because you don't have the mindset. And that's why I think investing in your mindset is very, very important. And that's something that I could personally say I've been drilling into heavily. I've been drilling into something called Rewired, which is basically essentially just being able to help me kind of get a better understanding of other successful traders and what they've been doing, and the similarities between it. And not just that, it's obviously guided from a successful trader who has over 15 years trading experience, but I would say compiled with the experience that they've gained and they've learned, you're probably looking at over 100 years of experience into that as well alone. So I think when you're following off someone who knows what they're doing, they've been doing it, they're learning, they're improving, they're doing everything that I've done, because that's why I've learned it, and then on top of that they're doing a lot more and managing the business and so forth. There's a lot to learn from someone like that. So that's something that I would say is very, very important. But I'd say surround yourself by people like-minded, goal-driven, and so forth. And fair enough, you might stop this video and go back and sit on your phone, scroll on Instagram and stuff, or you might be very proactive and say, okay, you know what, let me think about my processes, let me think about what I'm actually doing in my journey, where am I in the journey, okay, does it make sense for me to go for funding, or does it make sense for me to actually refine the way I trade, look at the data, find out where I can improve on, practice, collect some more data on it, and then so many different areas that you can improve on. And I only showed you a small portion of the work. I didn't show you my monthly advanced self-review, my weekly self-review. I didn't show you all of that data, and I think that's another piece of data that's very, very important as well. So having many different forms of the way you collect data is extremely important, and actually doing it is even more important consistently. It's fine, like you might miss a week, you might miss a month, but as long as in the long run you're actually doing what you need to do, or you go back and do it, it's very important. Because honestly, the people that I've spoken to and they've done that and they've gone back and actually just said, all right, I don't track my data, my trades, I'm going to go back and track all of my trades and select the data, this and that, fine, it's never going to come out as good as it would have in the moment in time and after. But if you can build the habit now and formulate good habits, you're going to then see better performance in the long run. So that's basically a lot of golden nuggets that I could have shared with you today. I think overall there isn't a lot of negatives towards the way we trade. It's just there's a lot of negatives to our behaviors and the way that, let's say, we've been programmed to think, because you probably have a certain perception on the way you're trading and think you've got it all, but you have to remember that none of us have it all. Like, there's always areas that we can improve on. Like, I could literally list out a few areas that I can improve on straight away, but it's then a matter of, am I in the position to make that change right now? Well, yes, but is it going to benefit me right now? No. It won't benefit me to go and tweak and add in more cells on my data collection sheet. What would actually make sense is now to actually start using the data I've collected and observing it in the live market conditions, and potentially being able to take advantage of the lessons. And then if a mistake or something goes wrong, can I learn from it? And getting into that mindset is even stronger than just taking a trade and then moving on to the next trade and so forth. It's literally squeezing everything out of the lemon. And yeah, I think that's a very good way. So that basically just kind of covers the whole trading side. I know it was a little bit longer than I anticipated there, but I think there was a lot of very valuable things for quite a number of people, because I wanted to summarize a lot of the questions that I got into that whole portion of the process, funding, what I've been up to and so forth. And I think I kind of just covered that, but I think most importantly is what I've been doing is mindset training, working on my mindset, tweaking my technicals, keeping myself a little bit more organized and clean, getting myself in a better routine, and becoming a lot more disciplined and consistent with it, and overall just doing what I say I'm going to do. You know, another good thing that I would really suggest to you, and I've written this down, is identity. It's not something that you'll be able to come with straight overnight, but as a person, we all have an identity, and it's about what sort of traits we have in our identity that really makes us the type of person that we want to be, or we are. And I listed these out for myself because these are parts and traits that I wanted to instill in myself, so I have them as an identity, so that when I do go across, and for example, one of them is lead by example, right? And this is just a perfect way to explain the reasons why I have them identity, and it's basically to demonstrate behaviors and values that you wish to see in others, to inspire and influence with action. So essentially, that's one of the main things that I realized, that the things that I valued in other people, or the things that I wanted to see in myself, I needed to find ways to actually incorporate them in myself. So it was, and I'll list them out. I have consistency, which is being consistent in my actions and my words. Follow through, so keeping promises and commitments. Integrity, which is acting in accordance with my principles and values. Listening, so actively listening to others and showing empathy. Respect, treating others with the respect and kindness. And then accountability, taking responsibility for my actions. Leading by example. And then transparency, being open and honest with your actions and intentions. Support, providing help and support to others when they need it. And self-awareness, reflecting on your actions and words to ensure they align with your values and your intentions. So these are all listed out, and this is something that I reflect on quite a lot, to make sure that I am moving closer to that image that I see myself as. And I think that's something that a lot of people can actually benefit from, is really just sitting down and thinking about what sort of self-image do you want. And it's strange, because before I used to see a lot of people, successful people, and hear them talking, and I'll speak to them, and they'd have this sort of level of, let's say, energy around them, where they would talk a lot differently to everyone, and they would act a lot differently, as if they were like hypnotized, like a robot or something. And I didn't quite understand it, and I was like, this person's definitely got it, but you know, maybe they're just like an NPC in the Matrix or something. You know, honestly, I couldn't really put my finger around it, and I was like, why are they so switched on, and why are they so good, and how come they've got everything going for them? Like, I'm no different. I'm just literally in a different circumstance, different experiences, but how come they've been able to do it? And I think it's because they've been able to instill certain values in themselves, and they found ways to do it. Buddhist monk once said, you know, by cleaning the toilet every day keeps him very disciplined, you know, in the sense that doing something that you don't want to do, but getting up and doing it anyway. Very interested in that as well. Another one is, and this comes back to sort of forward/back testing. Bruce Lee's quote about 10,000 kicks, you know. I don't fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks, but I fear the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once. Yeah, something like that. You can check out Bruce Lee kicks quote. It just had a deep meaning into it for me, and I think the main thing behind it was that it comes down to, you have a strategy, you have a trading plan, you have a particular type of way you like trading, right? And majority of the time, probably know how to take the trade, you see the trade, you understand the sequence, the positioning and everything, but then it comes down to how much have you actually really understood your particular trade. Like, there's a go-to setup for me, which there's no point me explaining it, but there's a go-to setup for me where I would look for a particular type of trade that would meet my criteria, and I take it hands down every time. But there's a certain time where I wouldn't take it, even if everything shaped up perfectly well, and it comes into positioning and sequence. But more importantly, I think it comes down to the confidence that you gain from the data collection. And going back to the data collection sheet that I showed you, I think it's very, very important that people do collect the data in however they choose to collect it. You know, I think collecting it the way that Alex explained through taking out a chunk of period, for example, let's say just a downtrend, throughout the downtrend from X period to X period, 87 days or whatever, you can then, you know, narrow down within that and then get more data out of it and then realize similarities and so forth, and then that enables you to understand the characteristics of one pair, because that was something that many people know is very important, but they don't know how to actually obtain that data. And it just comes in through breaking it down and analyzing it portion by portion and not overdoing it to yourself, where now I can say hand on my heart, you know, if someone asks me about Euro USD, I can tell them about a very high probability type of setup that if it comes up in certain market conditions, probably 8 out of 10 times you'd make a good profit and you'd be in for the run. So those are the sort of things that I think comes out of data collection, and that's one of the most important parts for it. And yeah, a lot of the time data is manipulated, of course, yeah, we understand that, but majority of the time history repeats itself. So can you make profits over and over again? Absolutely. You know, there's many different examples that I have and that I could even show people where history repeats itself despite market conditions, but it's just about understanding that you need to be in it for the long run. You need to understand that you could wait 3 weeks, take a trade, take a loss, wait another 2 weeks, take a trade, take a loss, then you wait another 2 weeks, then you take a trade and suddenly it's a win and it's 7 or 8%. It happens. You were 2% down for 6 weeks, suddenly on the 8th week you took a trade and now you're about 5% up. Wow, you know, you do that throughout the year, you could have already scaled to maybe $500,000. So it's an abundant mindset as well, but yeah, there's just refining, knowing what you really want out of the markets. If you're shotgunning it and you're Uzi in it, shooting trades everywhere, promise you're going to end up in a circle, or you're going to end up lower than you need to be. You might be up a little bit, but sustainably you won't be there in the long run, and it's not good for your mindset. Like, I promise you, like the way I've perfected myself now and the way that I approach everything now is I'm just so patient. I'm doing many things to perfect my mindset, to better my education, to work on other skills such as reading and, you know, developing other skills such as reading a new language and stuff. And having that time and that balance between trading is amazing. Like, I've actually been able to start thinking about setting up businesses and stuff and thinking way ahead, because previously the way I was trading consumed me. Not to say that it was really bad. I did learn a lot from it. I collected a lot of data, but it consumed me as a person. And if you're experiencing trading consuming you, then I have one major piece of advice, and it's just go back through this whole video as many times as you have to until you don't have to be consumed by trading, because I've pretty much explained in this video how you cannot be consumed by trading by following a process, using the data collection and so forth. Okay, you won't have those sheets, but you don't need them, really and truly. I basically explained, you know, what you want to do and how you can do it. You can even stop the video and read it if you want to, but really and truly all the values there. So just keep that most important part to yourself, which, you know, you can actually achieve anything. You don't need to be stuck to trading a particular type of way. You know, there's many strategies out there that can fit you better. You might be trading a particular strategy, you've been trading it for 2 years, and it may just not be giving you the results. Do you give up? No, absolutely not. Why? Because you've seen other people get successful. Okay, fine. If it's your own strategy and you've been trading it and you haven't had success in 3 or 4 years, maybe you need to put your hand down and say, actually, you know what, maybe I need to go get assistance and help from somewhere that can actually provide it to me. And if that is you, if you're that type of person, then reach out to me. reach out to me and be honest, and I'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction. But if you allow ego or ignorance or anything in that sort of area stop you, then that's on yourself. And then don't blame yourself if you're 5 years down the line and then you want to revisit the conversation to find education. Because the best thing I ever did was, and honestly, like, it was the best thing I ever did was just kind of just drop my ego and say, you know what, I found somewhere that has a lot more knowledge than what I have, and I can learn something. Yeah, I was making about £300 a week before when I was trading my scalping strategy, and it was sustainable, but long term I knew that I didn't have the mindset, I didn't have all of this stuff in place. I felt like I was lucky a majority of the time. And yeah, there was a week where I'd lose money, there was a week where I'd make money, there was a day where I'd make 70, 80 quid, but then I was spending as much as I was making, and it was making no sense. And eventually I'd end up either in a minus or break even, or maybe a couple £100 profit, but never really a couple grand. So it is what it is. But anyway, guys, that kind of summarizes the whole video. Thanks for watching. If you found value in this, appreciate a like, subscribe, more than happy. I will try post more content throughout the upcoming weeks, but to be honest with you, I'm still very busy with everything I'm doing. So when the next video comes out, I promise you it's going to be a really good one. Take care.